Hi, welcome to today's Piece of Peace. I continuously will be encouraging you to bring your mindset into a mindset of gratitude each morning. So that today I wrote out my top 10, and it was good. I want you to keep practicing that too. But today I'm going to dive right into our devotion, which is out of Our Daily Bread. And the author of today's is Arthur Jackson. And Our Daily Bread is a little pamphlet. Looks kind of like this, I'm sure. And you can order them online, or you can download this app onto your phones. So he titles it Only Trust. We're going to be in First Kings today, chapter 17, starting in 7. He runs at 8 to 16, but I want to start in 7 just to get a little bit of a backdrop. And it's the sort of segment title of that particular part of the scriptures is the widow and Zarephath. Sometime later, we're starting in 7. Sometime later, the brook dried up because there had been no rain in the land. Then the word of the Lord came to him, "Go at once to Zarephath of Sidon and stay there. I have commanded a widow in that place to supply you with food." So he went to Zarephath. When he came to the town gate, a widow was there gathering sticks, and he called out to her and asked, "Would you bring me a little water in a jar so I may have a drink?" As she was going to get it, he called out, "And bring me, please, a piece of bread." "As surely as the Lord your God lives," she said, "I don't have any bread. Only a handful of flour in a jar and a little oil in a jug. I'm gathering a few sticks to take home and make a meal for myself and my son, that we may eat it and then die." Elijah, who she was speaking to, said to her, "Don't be afraid. Go home and do as you have said, but first make a small cake of bread for me from what you have and bring it to me, and then make some for yourself and your son." And Elijah said to her, "For this is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says, the jar of flour will not be used up, and the jug of oil will not run dry, until the day the Lord gives rain on the land." She went away and did as Elijah had told her. So there was food every day for Elijah and for the woman and her family. For the jar of flour was not used up, and the jug of oil did not run dry, in keeping with the word of the Lord spoken by Elijah. This reminded me of a time when my husband and I were in an accident, and we needed to depend on God's provisions. I had written that morning, and I probably had talked about this way back in March just a little bit, but we were out of the country, and I had written that morning just to God saying, I was in Matthew reading about how he provides provides for the sparrows and brings them food. He clothes the valleys with lilies, and that's here today and gone tomorrow, and how much more important we are than the sparrows and the fields of grasses, and his provisions are there. Like, don't worry about what you're going to wear and what you're going to eat. Just focus on me and trust me to bring you the rest. We were in an accident that day and couldn't really provide for ourselves for quite a long time after that, and I watched God provide. Before that, I'd written in my journal, "Lord, I understand that you provide, but how in the world?" We work, and then we buy the diapers for our kids, and we put the food on the table, and I suppose you provide for us through giving us jobs and doing that. I said, what if? Because I can get it in my head that you provide, but I think in my heart I don't get it deeply enough. I said, what if I give away all my money? I'm writing this in my journal. What if I give away all my money, and then I watch you provide for us, for our house payment and for our children's needs and our food and everything? And after having an accident, I seriously had to depend on God to do that. So this widow is depending on what Elijah said, that my jar will never empty and that my jug will never run dry until the Lord gives rain on the land. And Arthur goes into the devotion here. 300 children were dressed and seated for breakfast, and a prayer of thanks was offered for the food, but there was no food. Situations like this were not unusual for orphanage director and missionary George Mueller. Here was yet another opportunity to see how God would provide. Within minutes of Mueller's prayer, a baker who couldn't sleep the night before showed up at the door, sensing that the orphanage could use the bread. He had made 3 batches. Not long after, the town's milkman appeared. His cart had broken down in front of the orphanage, and not wanting the milk to spoil, he offered it to Mueller. It's normal to experience bouts of worry, anxiety, self-pity when we lack resources essential to our well-being, like food, shelter, health, finances, friendships. 1 Kings 17, 8 through 16 reminds us that God's help can come through unexpected sources, like a needy widow. I don't have any bread, only a handful of flour in a jar, and a little oil in a jug. Earlier, it was a raven that provided for Elijah. Concerns for our needs to be met can send us searching in many directions. A clear vision of God as the provider who has promised to supply our needs can be liberating. Before we seek solutions, may we be careful to seek Him first. Doing so can save us time, energy, and frustration. His charge was this to us. What's been your experience when you've focused on securing provisions before seeking the provider in prayer? What current needs will you bring before God? And his prayer was this: Father, sharpen my vision of you as the provider for all my needs. Forgive me for times I have futilely sought to find my own way without seeking you first. In my story, I had said, I really want to understand you as my provider. And he sent me through a long story, a long journey, 1.5 year journey of watching him provide for me many things: our finances, our health, our children, everything. Yet, I can still find myself trying to figure something out on my own without coming before him and going, show me the way. What do you want me to do? How do you want to provide for this? And this is a good reminder, especially in this season with many having health issues, many having financial issues, many things being uncertain, how he truly is our provider. Brings us to a piece of peace. It brings me to Jesus Calling, which is Sarah Young's book. And she writes from the perspective of Jesus speaking to us. You can she has an app for your phone too, and you can download her book online. And she writes from Jesus speaking to us, I continually call you to closeness with me. Depending on him as a provider is closeness with him. I know the depth and breadth of your need for me. I can read the emptiness of your thoughts when they wander away from me. I offer rest for your soul, as well as refreshment for your mind and body. As you increasingly find fulfillment in me, other pleasures become less important. Knowing me intimately is like having a private wellspring of joy within you. This spring flows freely from my throne of grace, so your joy is independent of circumstances. Waiting in my presence keeps you connected to me, aware of all that I offer you. If you feel any deficiency, you need to refocus your attention on me. There it is, what we were talking about. When we need his provisions, we need to refocus our attention on him. If you feel any deficiency, You need to refocus your attention on me. This is how you trust me in the moments of your life. And that's today's piece of peace. God bless you.